I guess it's good afternoon. I don't know. One of those days. We're partly cloudy here with occasional rain and cooler temperatures. I think you just needed to know that's what it looks like on my part of the planet, wherever you guys are from. I see someone sitting outside in a beautiful backyard. So that looks awesome. Um, so anyway, my topic today, and the more I sat with this, I really originalized, this was a class that I originally taught at Lightning in a Bottle last year, about offerings. And I kind of wrote up the original outline for it. And then I realized that I kind of sat with it over the last couple of days. And, I've just been extremely busy these last 3 days, 2 days, with back and forth stuff and phone calls from a lot of people and setting up systems and all the weirdness that goes with new platforms. And so with that understanding, I was realizing that I used to get very irritated at the law of attraction. Um, that particular, when The Secret came out and all of that, woo, there was something inane about it that made me kind of angry because there was no accountability in it. They're saying the universe is vast, and the universe can give you anything you want if you have the right intention. And that is only half true. That is only half true. Um, our our This is a format of one of my teachers, one of my elders and dearest sisters, and she said she was going to come on today, but I'm not sure. Anyway, Sun Thunderflower, and one of our teachings that we work with within our lineage fires, and these are the teachings coming from Rolling Water, and he had a vision to teach this medicine that was taught to Sun Thunder, and then through Vision Quest, I was given that initiation, and there's several people, a lot of people in my life that work with me now that have taken the initiations. Even Isis, who is the one of the teachers and the main lead on this, she also under that tutelage and initiation at that time. So I just wanted to go into the fact that we have what's called the line of manifestation. And this is the physical form of, and it's the line that goes from the unseen to the seen. And in that physical form, we have a way of that, every idea that comes into physical form has probably either already been done, whether in this lifetime or a lifetime before, the lifetime before, because there's a cosmic consciousness around the earth that holds anything and everything in the recording of mankind. And mankind, just not this world, but previous incarnations on the planet of, and I'm not talking about soul incarnations, I'm talking about the worlds. And in my cosmology and my teachings, of which I work closely with Hopi, is that there are 5 worlds, and in some worlds it's 6 worlds, in some worlds it's 5 or 6. And we are now, according to the cosmology that I was taught, we are going from the 4th world to the 5th world. This doesn't have to do with the dimensional planes, because everybody's going like 5D and 4D and 6D and 12D. It's different stuff. We're talking about the different incarnations of past civilizations. And as we know, we're right on that brink of very much discovering. Sonia, Isis is asking for the sign in for this class. Can you help her? Thanks. So anyway, I wanted to really get to the fact that that line of manifestation. So we have different names for all of that. We call it the Akashic records. We call it cosmic consciousness, whatever. So what I'm just trying to say is, whatever you think you discovered or thought of, it's probably already done before. And we can see that in our ancient civilizations, because there's an ancient science that goes into ancient civilizations. And so we know that there's something that's been tracked from the third world before it was destroyed, and the fourth world started. And now we're coming into the fifth world, which is part of this great change. So let me go back to this line of manifestation. So in the ethers, Akashic records, cosmic consciousness of ancient civilizations, there's ideas, as we raise our vibration on earth plane, we can get into a place of higher consciousness to be able to manifest from those realms and manifest into this world. But we need a line of manifestation. There's cosmic law ruling the seen and the unseen. And I want people to realize that. I've got a couple of stories that go with those teachings. And that's the fact that we just celebrated Easter. And so if we go back to a biblical text, and in that biblical text, we have an understanding that Mary Magdalene went to the tomb of Jesus, where Jesus was interred. This was the third day after he was crucified. And she went to the tomb, and the large stone that had sealed the tomb had been rolled away. And she's freaking out because she thinks somebody stole his body, that there were grave robbers there. And so she's crying, and she doesn't look behind her yet, but there's a voice, and it says, "Why do you cry?" And she says, "Someone has taken my Lord." And so she turns around, and she finally sees Jesus standing next to her. So you can imagine on a physical level what that would feel like. You would go to somebody's grave who just died, and you're crying for them, and all of a sudden you see an apparition, and in almost a corporeal form, of them standing next to you. That's kind of freaky. Come on, really, that's a pretty freaky thing. And so he says to her, "I'm here, Mary." Basically, "I'm here," and says, "But do not touch me, for I have not ascended to the Father." So what the heck does that mean? What does that really mean? What it means that he is at an extremely higher vibration. And it means that he was in that point of transcendence into upper world. And so even in that understanding, and I'm not pushing Bible teachings here or not, but the thing is, they're great historical writings of spirituality, that some of it has been, bastardized, however you want to put it. But those are historical stories of the Judaic people and their stories, and they're some of the oldest writings that we have, even way past it goes back to the Sumerians in their cuneiform writings. And so those are really the earliest writings that we have. And so understanding that even under that, when Christ is saying, "Do not touch me, for I have not ascended," even in that form, as in the Christian belief that Jesus was the Son of God, even that formation of that divine entity, if that is your belief system or whatever, has to live by cosmic law. I mean, there's a cosmic law here that we have to, it's not just an experience. There's a cosmic law that his vibration is so high. It's not that it would hurt him. It would be the fact it would hurt Mary, because Mary's vibration is not high enough to interact with with that type of higher ascension form, or whatever you want to call it, a Christed form, that sort of thing. So you have to realize that, okay, well, here is, you know, a master, if you, that's what you want to call the son of God, if you want to call him, but here is like an ascended master ascending, and yet he still has to abide by a cosmic law. So that means everybody that's on this earthen plane and that which is in the cosmic realms or the unseen realms has seen and unseen cosmic laws that we have to go by. And a lot of stuff that I teach in my classes, and a lot of stuff that I teach in my herbal classes and in my alchemy classes, and even making my medicines, the way I make my medicines, are my first rule of thumb is this law of manifestation. And the law of manifestation is we have all of that Akashic records, all of that available to us, but we have to raise our vibration enough to able to translate it into physical form. So once we receive that quote idea, or, you know, that even goes to, you know, like I moved last year and sold the house. So my house, I lived on Broad Street for 15 years in Nevada City, and I knew this was coming. And I kept on saying something wicked this way comes. So I put my house up for sale and sold it and bought in another, I just did a whole nother venue flip to my life, and moved to Grass Valley, and I'm in a community now, and it's really awesome. And my sister lives in the community not too far away from me, and it's just, it was a really good thing. And you know, but I'm saying, where did that come from? Well, the thing is that you have these ideas, you've got lucid dreaming, you've got your own wantings, and you have to separate all those. And the way to separate all those is really in prayer and asking what is yours to do. And that's really the first thing. So if you get an idea about something, especially a big thing, it's good to ask, like, is this mine to do? Check your, you know, because you have those things that causes your woulda, coulda, shoulda, and then also you also have those insights of, for every yes there is a no, and for every no there is a yes. So there's consequences on both sides of what decisions you are. Are you racking up karma, or are you dissipating karma? That's kind of how I make my decisions. And I also do it very prayerfully. And I'm not saying everything I do when I walk out of the house, I'm gonna, oh Lord, should I go to the gas station today? No, I mean, I'm not talking about that, but I'm talking about those things that are really, really connecting your life to your basic life, your basic foundation, and things like that. And so in the line of manifestation, you have the ideas, you know, you have the cosmic thing, you get your energy up to get to those higher realms so you can manifest in a higher way. I mean, we can always manifest, but we're pulling in those not so idealistic energies sometimes of the lower vibrations. And so I attain to keep my energy field up as much as possible to be able to do the work that I do, as well as to bring in those higher realms of consciousness, which is so needed right now, because we have to know how to move. And I've been trained in medicine ways, you know, since I was a little girl. I mean, I was about 5, and I remember doing the fire breath and the Kundalini stuff that my parents did back in the 50s. And one of the things that's really important is to remember that, like, I don't think in Western culture anymore. I think through my medicine ways. And sometimes people, and I have a group of people that sit with me in counsel and that sit with me in medicine ways. And sometimes I want to move and they're not quite there yet. And sometimes I feel like I'm dragging around a weight with me, because it's like, I got to move, but I have to remember I'm in the human experience. And when I'm in that human experience, and if I'm being accountable, which I don't always remember, and I apologize to those that get the outfall of it, because I'm a manifestation person. I'm from the West, which is part of West, meaning in the energy of West on the medicine wheel, which is a very action oriented person, that when you're ready to go, you're ready to go, and you see it and all that. So anyway, through the line of manifestation, I don't want to lose you here, is also there is an ebb and flow. There's a spark. So if we take the creation, let's just take a creation of a baby for giggles or something. So let's say you have an attraction to someone, and I'm going to be old fashioned here, is that you have an attraction, you guys decide, that you have a physical attraction, and that physical attraction is a higher energy, and it actually can pull that soul entity that's part of your soul pod into physical form. It can pull that physical form in. Not every union that you have is even if it's a extreme physical reunion, calls it a baby. Truly, it doesn't. Thank God. That would be kind of miserable. But on the other hand, there is that moment of conception that called that soul. We're all born in soul pods that bring that soul in, and the forces that bring that child in is the ebb and flow. It's the push me, pull you. It's that friction. It's that spark of divine life. It's that spark. Then as the baby comes in, it has to come into physical form before the consciousness has a vessel to sit in. So then it is born in water and formed in water, and it's earth, air, fire, water. And so it's growing in physical form, but it has to use the 4 elements to come into form. Has to. There's no other way for a cosmic consciousness idea or spirit or anything to come into form without earth, air, fire, water. And it has to have that divine spark to come into physical form. Then at the actual, and again, knowing when that actual consciousness drops down onto the baby and into the vessel, I believe that the consciousness, that spirit form is hanging around the mother, and then at some time when the baby is able to function on this form physically, that it physically sits. And when that child physically sits, there are some children, especially with autism. My grandson is on the spectrum, and he's nonverbal, and many of you have met Caden. And when he was first born, and I work with a lot of birthing and dying. I work with the threshold entrances of life in my private practice, specifically on a lot of things. And when they're doing that, that's like birthing. So it's birthing into this world, but on the other hand, the death doula, you're also birthing out in the other world. So they're really almost the same process. And so when that consciousness of that child comes in and sits, then that's when spirit ether does its finality, and you're holding earth, air, fire, water, spirit that you called in from that divine spark, and there is your final manifestation. That's more of the extreme form, but there's also the idea of, like, we all have ideas, and we have 1,000 ideas, and this is where mismanifestation can come in really bad. And believe me, I'm a really good one for mismanifestation in my life over the years. And the thing is that you always have to look at patterns of manifestation. And so I look at, like, it's taken me years to, we're all human, and I'm still a screw up on things that happen to me. I'm human, and I'm here. I am, otherwise I would, be in the either world, and that's not where I want to be. I'm more effective here now, and doing what I love to do. And really being alive is a privilege. It's a privilege. In spirit form, you can get stuff done. But in the earthly form, you have a lot way to burn off your karma, and you have a lot way of doing goodness in physical form. So taking that physical form and using that line of manifestation. So I have an idea. So am I going to manifest into form every single idea that I have? God, no, and hope not. You know, some are really worth manifesting. Some are not necessarily from the higher realms. They could be from the lower realms, and those lower realm manifestations play into our karmic debt at points, comes into our own psychic filters of fear and pain and all the emotions of the human being. So it's taken me a while to understand, and that sitting deeply with self and with spirit and understanding, is this mine to do? And I really mean, I have a form of assessment in our council. We have a council, in our form of council, we use the I Ching. I Ching is one of the oldest forms of divination. Isis has really channeled in, and I will say channeled in, this divination board. And I really, it's complicated, guys. It's complicated. But the thing is, it trains you. It trains you because it is a multi-dimensional board. It is a multi-dimensional, using some of the major arcana. It's using the astrological signs. It's using the planet signs to the astrological signs. It's using the seen and the unseen. And I luckily, just before all of this hit, I was physically at Ouroboros. I took the class, and we had used it in Egypt, and I was really, really interested in learning it. And so they gave me a big one. I needed a big one so that I could see it. And so I've been working with that, and I'm learning to work with it and trying to master it. And it's truly a master of me at this point than I'm a master of it. But what I'm saying is that whatever form of divination, and divination doesn't mean tarot writing, or, I mean, it's not, sometimes it's nice to have an outside thing to check your own self. In our council, we all determine what the question we are asking about the subject, and then we all do the I Ching, and then we all bring in the I Ching. And the I Ching also gives you an elemental divination, because it says like lake over water, or sky over fire, and things like that. So I can also do the elemental reading just off of that, which I do once everybody brings in their other readings. But all I'm saying is that whatever form of discernment, and it comes down to discernment. Divination is discernment, and it's discernment on looking at signs and symbols and how you interpret those in your life. And going through life blindly, truly, if you don't recognize when that hawk is flying over you, that hawk is saying, what vision am I not seeing? Or what vision, there's something in front of you. Or the vulture. You know, we live around here, and it's funny, we had council and the other day, and every one of the medicine people, even people not on council, some of the medicine people that I deal with in our organization, they all have had an encounter with the vulture, everyone. And so that was kind of a big topic to talk about recently. And vulture is something I've never been attracted to, although working with the Inca elder, one day he was over from Peru, he was visiting, he was staying at my house, and everybody had gone out of the house except my grandson. So you've got this picture of an Inca elder holding an Easter basket, running around the house with a 7-year-old, getting Easter eggs off the different places I hid them. And then I sat down to serve dinner, and I took the turkey out of the oven, and he looked at me and he says, condor. You know, so it was kind of a fun experience. But what I'm saying is that whatever form of divination that you use, make sure it's the highest form of discerning for you, because that's what divination is to pinpoint your discernment. And so in that discernment, and what I'm saying is really filtered what is yours to do, what is really yours to do, and really seat that. And I'm talking about, you know, one thing like in The Secret, they used to talk about, oh, I'm going to get a car and I don't know what color to get. So I'm going to go and do a manifestation about what color car I'm going to get. You don't need to poke a hole through the veil to get that kind of information. You either like pink, black, or white, and you look at it and you say, oh, I'm going to get my, I love pink, but they don't make pink cars unless you sell Mary Kay. But so I want a pink car and they don't have it. So my next color would probably be silver or blue or something. So, I mean, you don't need to do a journey on that. You don't have to go heavily into a divination unless the divination is, oh my God, can I afford this pink car that I want? And look at your physical finances and you look at your physical reality. And then you do your divination. Like if you're really stuck, like, well, I can kind of afford it, but kind of not afford it. And I don't know what to do. That's a divination point. But what I'm talking about, this line of manifestation, we use it every single day on every single thing. And so then we have to learn to read signs. And I mean, this is what I mean about moving in medicine ways, is like, I told you about the clouds today because my medicine name is Two Clouds Meeting or Blue Thundercloud. I have an association to the clouds and to the water element. And even though my astrological sign is fire, I'm Sagittarius, and I'm born in West, which actually is water in our medicine wheel elementals, is that I look at the signs. I look at what is repeating, what is going on, and what keeps on repeating for me personally. And I talk to a lot of people, I have some of my friends and family, talking to me like, oh, Mom, are you lonely? And I'm like, no, I'm busier than I've been in a long time. And I'm talking to a lot of people. And I'm hearing from them like, I don't know what to do. I don't know where to go. And right now it's like, well, you don't really need to go anywhere. And maybe work on yourself. This is the time to really work on yourself. And I'm grateful to Sonia and Isis because they asked me to come on board to do a Zoom class. And I'm like, yeah, whatever. And guess what? We're all here. So I said I would never do this, and I'm doing it. We have to adapt. We have to adapt. This weekend, I was supposed to be on Mount Shasta with the Hopi, the Inca, the Maya, and the Tibetans, and the ancient crystal skulls. And, this weekend didn't happen, unfortunately. And I'm sorry that didn't happen, but so something mismanifested. So in that line of manifestation, there's an equal amount of energy. The Inca call it Aini. We call it reciprocity. And this is actually where the law of manifestation or the law of attraction failed. One of the examples that they use in the law of attraction, The Secret, is that, oh, I need a good parking space today. I'm going to drive around and I'm going to think positively and I'm going to get that parking spot right up front. First off, check your intent, motive, and purpose. Why do you need an upfront parking spot? Truly. I mean, if you truly have a reason for it, then that's something you may need to manifest. But in the other thing, on a moral compass, you have to look at the fact that energy is like energy, and like energy attracts like energy. Energy is neither formed or dissipated. It is there. It is there. And the thing is, so we can take this amount of energy and then we can co-create with it. And then, but when you take something from something, you have to give away an equal amount of energy that is needed. And this is what is not taught. So an example of that, my daughter does not want to get a handicap sticker for my grandson. He's got a gated walk and recently he broke his foot. And my daughter is small. She's 5 foot, maybe 120 pounds, and she's carrying a 13-year-old that weighs over 100 pounds because she didn't get him a handicap card because she wanted him to have a life where he didn't feel like he was being depleted or something different, and he didn't have that. And really, she wanted him to have that exercise, that extra thing to walk. But so I'm saying is that she deserves a parking place truly up front. If it's available, she'll take it. But if I'm just there trying to use the secret to manifest, maybe she's the one that's not getting what she actually needs. And somebody just took the spot because it's okay to do it. It's cool because I have that power to manifest. That's what I'm trying to tell people, is that you have to have a moral compass in your manifestation, and you have to balance the power. You have to balance the power. And this is something that's not taught. Our ancient people knew about the balance of power. They totally knew about the balance of power, and the balance of power and on thinking. So I'm going to take you off the moral compass platform of the Western civilization right now. And I'm not, I'm really straight up. I'm not talking about making blood offerings. And I want you guys to know that. I'm not saying that whatsoever. I'm giving you a history of how that was used. And there's other things in this life that we can use these days that are much more available to us. But I want you to understand there's something in the power of the blood that has gone all the way to even in the equal power of giving something. And I don't know what that is, but there's something in the transcendence of the human factor of blood that transcends into the cosmic world, the unseen world, and the seen world, even to the point of but it was equal, and it was an equal amount of energy. So let's just boil it all down to the energies. But we have the sacred temples of in Jerusalem and Bethlehem, and there were always offering made. There was lamb, the lamb was given, the goat was given, there were animals given, their lives were given in sacrifice to atone or to create that energy of what that person was asking for. And there were also other lesser offerings there were sacred plants, there was money, there was a lot of money exchange as well. And people were given the temple purifiers. In Egypt, looking at Egypt and the temples that were given, and the offerings, and a lot of now even, offerings are used in so many ways. One of the things I learned about offerings, and there is such thing as miasms in the miastic world, when things get knotted up and knotted up and knotted up, we get knotted up, and it creates a ball of energy. And if that's not dissipated, it will eventually take human life in itself, to that even exchange of energy. And one of the examples here is the Yuba River. We live next to the river, and the river is our lifeblood of our community. Truly, it's been the lifeblood of the ancestors that lived here before us. In 1849, they were invaded by the Western culture. Scalps were sold for $1. If you brought in a Native American scalp, you would be paid $1. So there was a genocide ordered. And in that genocide, that is a miasm that creates a miasm between the miners that arrived here and the Native Americans. And there's still discourse in this area. You guys know that. I've been involved with the Indigenous Peoples Day, the Tayaka Maidu, the Nisenan, for several years. And there's still dissent. There's still dissent. And the thing that comes in is that miasm is still a knot. And it's gone so far into so many generations because we have founding families here of both sides, or both generations of Native Americans and generation of miners. And now their descendants carry that miasm. And that miasm is really big in our community. It's big. And I am Hanaid to a family, and it's the Pule family, and they are from Napapo on the Big Island of Hawaii. They are the Kahuna Nuis for Hikiau Heiau, which is actually Kealakekua, and it's the heiau that's in Kealakekua Bay. I've been very heavily involved with this family for many, many years in their traditions. Out of this family comes Mona Simeona. Mona Simeona was the Hawaiian elder that actually taught Ho'oponopono to help do some of this work. I've worked very much with Ho'oponopono, and the problem with Ho'oponopono, the way it's being taught now, I just watched one of the recordings of, what's his name? Wilcott, one of those, Wilcott, David. And David's got some good things to say, and some of it is, anyway, I respect him as in his knowledge of many things. However, there are some things that need to be put in check for sure. And one of the things he was saying was the other day was about Ho'oponopono, and like Dr. Lee did these prayers and he wasn't even there, and he was doing prayers for a psychiatric hospital, and then all these patients got better and they got discharged. And so when you do Ho'oponopono, I'm sorry, I'm grateful, you know, I love you, you know, just that whole process. That's not really Ho'oponopono. And if you sit with the family, if you actually sit with a Hawaiian family, if someone's sick, they bring in all of the Hawaiians, all of their relations, their ohana. And they talk about, you know, wow, you know, this, and they have what's called the haka. And the haka is like, we would call it the psychic or the medium or whatever. And it's the kahuna nui that holds the channel between the other world and this world. And when they're working in Ho'oponopono, and Ho'o means source, pono means right. So it means making it right with source. And so when they do this, the family gets together and they talk about the discords that are happening in that relationships right then. Or maybe they look at the generations, couple of generations back, and that's when the haka is able to look 7 generations back into the family lineage, and there might be a miasm in that family lineage. If there's a miasm in that family lineage, then that family does the prayers and the right offerings to untangle that miasm, because it's manifesting in that sick person. And then they go through the process of the entire Ho'oponopono process. It's not something they just pray. They actually go through looking at what's causing the miasm, they locate the miasm, and then they dissipate the miasm. Because a miasmic energy is a knot between seen and unseen, usually caused by human residue with the taking of life, or something so the energy becomes so big it eventually will take human life for its own feeding. So our Yuba River, I brought Aki here in the community in Nevada County when she was believe she was 33 when I first brought her here to teach her first Ho'oponopono class. And my friend Nancy Clemens, who wrote the Dolphin divination cards, was a good friend of Aka. And then I had introduced her to my teacher at that point, Sun Thunderflower. And so she became a regular coming to this community and doing a lot of teachings. And one year there was a music teacher from Europe that got killed. And there was about 8 people that died down at, the South Yuba. And I was always told by the locals here, don't swim in the South Yuba. The South Yuba will take your life. And I know people that were born here that won't swim in the South Yuba River because his grandparents, their grandparents told them not to swim in it. So anyway, long story short, Aka was here, and she's like, let's go down to the river and do Ho'oponopono. And so I'm like, okay. And so we started doing the Ho'oponopono. And for many, many years, on June 21st, around there, Aka would arrive. We would go to the bridge at South Yuba, and we would do Ho'oponopono. And the lives got less, and they got less. And I have continued to do that, the Ho'oponopono, and I'm very careful of cultural things and not assuming it's mine to do. But her lineage, and I had permission from her children to continue doing this. And so I've continued to do this ceremony. The last year I got asthma pretty bad and I wasn't able to do it. And it's something that I'm realizing as I'm aging, to give my specific medicines to people to do specific things that need to be continued and to be done. So I'm still looking for that person to teach that medicine to be able to do that kind of medicine and to do that Ho'oponopono. So what I'm saying is that in that ceremony, we gave the offering of that actual ceremony, and there's certain giveaways that go away with that ceremony, so that river doesn't have to eat. It doesn't have to continue. That miasm will never be dissipated at this point because it's too far down in the generational fields, and it's too big, but it still eats. And if it's not given away to, it's not prayed or not recognized to. And one of the things we had the Isis, I'm sorry, I don't remember the name of it. It was the sacred, anyway, we did it here in town, and it was a beautiful week-long ceremony. And Natalia and I actually started that in my backyard, because I was right across the street from the cemetery on Broad Street, and there's a Native American healing stone in that yard. And so we actually started that conference off by doing the prayers and the offerings. And so we gave the right songs and the right offerings to that stone for the healing of the Native American people. And then we walked across to the cemetery and we gave the prayers, and we actually gave whiskey to the Irish that are buried there. But we gave the right offerings to start that off. And that's one thing I'm really proud to be involved with working with this team of people, with Isis and Sonia and a lot of the other medicine people that come together, because those offerings and those askings of permission are always done. They're always adhered to. And that's what's important to understand, that it's always, is it mine to do? And if you're doing it with other people, to make sure that it's theirs to do. And it's always good to know if you're standing someplace and to ask the elders. If there's physical elders to ask that have this property, then you ask them. If they're not there, then you physically ask them in a prayer form. If you get a solid no, don't be arrogant. It's not yours to do. that means walk away. You may have to rethink your medicine ways because that vibration of your medicine is not ready to be accepted there. So you can't push the river. One of the biggest sayings my teacher used to teach me is you can't push the river. And I was taught the old way. And the old way meant that it's spring on the Consumnes River. And I was one that was push the envelope, as you say. And the way I was taught is that I was told to take my clothes off and go get in that river. We're talking about a spring current. This is May, and it's spring current, and I was told to swim. And I was told to swim up against the current. And I swam, and I was swept down river. And she goes, come on, you got to walk back. You got to walk back. So I'd walk back, and I did this over and over again. And in that way of doing it over and over again, I got exasperated. And I stood up and I said, I can't do this. And I walked out and my clothes were gone. And I'm standing there naked, looking at her. And then some of our council came walking out on shore. And my teacher simply says, what do you have to hide? And I'm like, she said, you stood up for yourself. Literally, I stood up in the river and said, I can't do this. And then I walked out on shore, and the lesson was, what do you have to hide? So like I said, I'm really stubborn, and sometimes it took a lot to teach me, and that's some of the old ways of teaching. And we think we have sensibilities of how we teach. We don't teach that way anymore. I don't teach that way unless it's absolutely necessary. And usually I don't think I've ever had to use something like that in my teachings over the years. But at that point, she was taught by an old one, and she was doing the right thing for my development in my medicine ways. And like I said, it's not an easy thing. And I wasn't taught an easy way. And there isn't an easy way to learn hardcore medicine. There just isn't. There's no shortcuts. And so if you are told not to do a ceremony, stop feeling justified that you're right to do it. If the energies don't match, you're pushing the river, and it really is maybe not yours to do. You might have something really planned to do, but if your energy isn't in tune, and Aini means two dissimilar forms having an interchange of energy and information. So, which our American word for it is reciprocity. But the thing is, Aini means two dissimilar forms holding space, having a relationship of information and energy exchange. We don't have Aini with everyone. In fact, we have discord with many. And if you stand closely in that energy field, you don't. You know people, you walk by them and you kind of go, brr, or you walk in a house and you go, gee, that kind of thing. So understanding that when you go to do a ceremony and you go to do ritual, that you yourself have to get yourself into a space of sacred space. Why do you think that these priests and priestesses of the temples, like in Egypt, where were we? I think we were in Dendera. I think it was Dendera. Might be wrong. Might have been Abydos, but I think it was Dendera. And they were showing like none of the common folks were allowed to be. I think it was Dendera, and none of the common folk were allowed to be on the temple grounds at all. And I have a picture of where the people would bring their offerings to a gate that was like, 200 feet away from the temple grounds. And there's a big wall all the way around the temple grounds. And the common people that were coming for healings or prayers were allowed to bring their offerings to the priestess of the day, I guess, who would receive that offering. And that common person wasn't even allowed to go in the temple, wasn't allowed to do anything. They had to give an offering for their prayer through the priestess who would bring it in. And then there's a whole level. But that means that priestess was purified. She was prayed as in prayerful. She was giving fasting or supplication. She was probably washed. She was anointed. She was prepared spiritually to be able to receive those offerings. And then, as in her purification, she gave them to somebody else who was purified to be able to receive those offerings. And then they were given to that other person who actually executed the ritual and who was prepared to actually energetically transform that offering into the highest energy and good for the person that those offerings came from. So what I'm trying to say is that if you're just showing up, oh gosh, I'm going to be late, I've got to do this and like that, you are not ready. You are not ready to do ceremony. We have, like, when we do our ceremonies, we have a 9-day prep before our ceremonies. And our 9-day prep, and that includes our sweat lodge. This includes our major ceremonies that I know that I'm doing, that I need to transmute that energy. And I'm the one who's transmuting that energy usually, but we have a medicine team, and our medicine team, now I'm training our medicine team to how to transmute that energy. And we have, our firekeeper, and our firekeeper knows how to transmute that energy from the seen to the unseen. I've just recently taught a whole sweat team. So we have our whole sweat team, and they're learning little by little to prepare themselves to transmute that energy. Because other than that, if you don't know how to bring your energy up to come into Aini in the right way, to even have an offering and to give an offering and to do the prayers and to do the ritual, you have to build the energy behind you, pinpoint it into the unseen, and then you have to let it go. Because after you let it get into the unseen, it's not yours anymore. You've given it to the other side, and that goes anything with a prayer as well. Anything that is co-manifested between the seen and the unseen needs to be in its own natural form, doing its thing. And that's what the power is. I taught the portals of light a few weeks ago, and I taught a more advanced class of it to a group in LA with a school called 22 Teachings. And I taught them an advanced form of the portals of light. I taught a more scaled down form in my way here on Zoom a couple of weeks ago. And I had a woman write to me, and she said, oh my God, I was so tired. After I did that, I thought I was just going to fall over. Well, truly, and she was in the advanced group. And truly, to understand, and this is where we use our life force versus our etheric energy forces. And it takes preparation, as I call it, to eat the light, or basically gather those energy points unto itself to be able to put that into form into your own auric field. And then you are channeling the energy that way through the auric field instead of your own human resources. And it takes time to learn how to ground yourself, purify yourself, and get your energy field up. So if you're out partying the night before and you're gonna do ceremony the next night, honey, I'm sorry, you're not showing up in a good way for that ceremony. You're not. You're tripping through life thinking this is cool, and you're doing your prayers, but I'm sorry, in this world that we're in the density that we're living in, you need to do as much self-purification as you can, and to get your intent, motive, and purpose. And I call it the IMP. Intent, meaning why are you doing it? The motive is what is motivating you, and the purpose is the final outcome. So your intent, motive, and purpose. That is what I question all the time with my discernment. when I go to do my rituals. What is the intent, motive, and purpose of this particular ritual? And then I set myself up to gather my energy vibrationally. And we talked about this, I think, a little bit last week and the week before that, is the sun. We are creatures of this world. Our electromagnetic field is going off the charts through the Schumann resonance. We also took in the Great Central Sun's transmission in 2012 that gave it to the sun, that gave it to us, and we're the only living generation that has gotten it in this generation, and that was a 26,000 year galactic alignment where our sun takes in a transmission from the Great Central Sun, which is the black hole of the Milky Way, and every 26,000 years it gets a transmission. Our sun gets a transmission, our solar system gets a transmission, and who's ever alive on Earth gets that transmission from the sun. And Akhenaten was a genius, and he was considered a heretic in working with the Egyptian field, but Amarna was incredible, and there was and the Amarna period in, I think that was the 8th dynasty, was like the Renaissance period that we had in the 15th, 14th, and 15th century in our line of history, and it was an immense time of art. But what Akhenaten did, he didn't disavow all the other god and goddesses of the pantheon. He just said, really, there's only one true force in life of creation, and that's the sun. And Aten is sun. That's what it means. And sun is the creation or whatever. So Akhenaten is the sun. And the sun temples, and I will never, ever, ever, I can't say more in my life than taking in the sun transmission at Karnak Temple. It's the most intense sun transmission I've taken in my life. And if you see some of the artifacts coming out of the Amarna period, which we showed it up online, I think a couple of weeks ago, is that there's Akhenaten's entire family. It shows the sun rays, and he's standing there doing this, and the entire family is standing there doing this. And that sun rays feed your auric field. It's giving you transmissions from the sun. There's also places on the earth that give you transmutational energy from the natural forces of the cosmic universe. And there's places where the veil is thin on our planet, and on our planet where those places naturally the veils are thin, you will find most churches, you will find most ancient churches, you'll find ancient temples, you'll find the pyramids, and you'll find the stone circles, and you will find a very high increase of UFO activity. And then you will find pilgrimages from different indigenous elders going to those places. A pilgrimage is not, hey, I'm going on a trip. A pilgrimage is where you're in supplication, of fasting and prayer, and preparing your body to receive that vibrational transmission of that place that you're going. And it's the prayerful journey of getting there. And that is the offering in itself, other than what you physically prepared. It's how you are preparing and how the journey is preparing you to go to that place. So last year, I teach a class called Earth Wisdom, and I had my third year students, and we made a pilgrimage, and it started at the ancient bristlecone pines. That is 5,000 years old. Those are the oldest trees in oldest living thing in the world. So we start at 12,000 feet in the White Mountains on dolomite, which is a manganese that lets off an bioelectric field that actually feeds you just by standing on it. And it's also what was part of the encasement stones on the Great Pyramid of Cheops. So understanding that even the ancient Egyptians and before that, they knew that this was an electrical charged stone, which is probably why these trees can live so long. And so you've got antennas, ancient bristlecone. So you've got these trees that are anchored at 12,000 feet. They're growing in dolomite. They're in the subalpine, subalpine climate, if you're into different geology segments or biosphere. And so there's nothing else that grows up there except the lingal, they called crumbles, and they're the lingal pine. And so yes, they're in California. They're by Bishop. I'm going to be designing a trip. And so we're going to be actually going through a trip between the two schools, the Academy of Oracle Arts and 22 Teachings. We're getting a class together to go to ancient bristlecone. But on this trip, we went to ancient bristlecone. Then we used an energy grid because I work a lot with energy grids and earth lines. We gave away there. Then we went to the Grand Canyon. Then from the Grand Canyon, my family's lands are in Sedona. My dad grew up was trained by the Wind Creek tribe to be of an emergent store that is in Sedona. And my grandmother was the laundry woman for Sedona Snebley in 1916. And that is the family lands. We dropped down there. We went to the Door area. Then we went to Hopi, and we were greeted at Hopi by the elders. We went and did our work at Hopi, and then we went to Chaco Canyon and we did our work at Chaco Canyon. That was a pilgrimage, and those were offerings to the ancestors and a supplication and a purification for that, and the right to do our sun transmission at the Sun Kiva in Chaco Canyon, and did I say the Grand Canyon? Maybe I didn't. Anyway, there were certain areas that we did but we were gathering our energies the whole time, and our biggest energies. The intent of the pilgrimage was to create a land grid and an understanding of using this land grid in the ancient places to be able to, that the students have a connection to that because their energy is connected to it. And that brings, thank you, Becca, and that brings that energy back into focus, that now those students have that embedded in their energy field, and they can go to those places through liquid time and give energy to those places and extract energy from those places as they need it. And so we built the grid. From that grid, the final thing that they were able to give away and receive was at the Sun Kiva, which is still, it was buried by the ancients in the 1300s. They buried half of it underground, like Göbekli Tepe. That anytime natives leave a place or that you need to deactivate energy or medicine, it's usually buried. And so Göbekli Tepe was buried 12,000 years ago. Not to people saying, oh, they did it to preserve. They didn't do it to preserve. They did it to negate it. They gave it back to the earth. They gave it back to an element. And so that medicine is not active anymore because it deactivates it. The Kiva is half buried. The entrance to the bottom of it, they built a huge hill. I mean, like 2-story hill. I mean, it looks like a half of a mountain now, but they did that to deactivate that ancient Kiva. But that sun ceremony is still available at that Kiva, and it's at the astrological point and the cyclic point of the point of origin, all of Chaco Canyon's temples, I call them temples, are built on ley lines, and they're also built on cosmic forces where the seen and the unseen come together. So I took the group and we did a sun ceremony. We took in a sun transmission, huge sun transmission, same way that they did in Egypt during the Akhenaten period. So we fed our energy. And so now that's embedded in those students. So we do a certain ceremony that embeds that or helps you feed that into your auric field. So when you're going to do your work, that you don't do it in, you're not using just your human intent. Your human intent and your human force won't get you very far. It just won't. That's why we have a liquid universe that we can plug into, and we can focus that by gathering and upping our vibrational energy. Once we up our vibrational energy and come into our pure spiritual power, then we prepare the offering, and then we give it to the person who is doing the ritual, who has also done the same thing, but has usually the training to do that particular ritual, and then able to give that to the universe of that offering. And there you have the Aini, or the balance of power. And like I said, in the law of attraction, it's kind of like going to the supermarket, and you might as well pick everything you want and you just roll on out the door. You don't pay for anything. You don't have, there's no moral compass for anything. Like we've been talking a lot about the people hoarding. Well, you're spiritual hoarding with the laws of attraction. It's spiritual hoarding. And the thing is, you're punching holes into the unseen unnecessarily. And going into the unseen isn't about the color of your car or where you're going to park. And the thing is about like, well, I need money. So and in the book, in the secret, it's like, well, I need $1. And it tells you, well, it takes as much energy to manifest $1. And so you might as well manifest $1 million because it's the same amount of energy. BS. It's not. If I had $1 million, then I must be, I must have had, there's nothing wrong with money. I'm not saying there's anything wrong with having $1 million. That's cool. But the thing is that if you were given $1 million, then there's atonement that you have a responsibility to the energy of, you've gathered that much wealth, or that much, and wealth in our people talk about paying for medicine. And one thing that we have with the Caro, the Incas, when they come, we charge money. Yeah, we charge money for ceremony. All of that money goes back to the Caros to feed their families. It pays their medical bills. We have a director that that's what he does for his living. And so there's nothing else taken out of that. I've been on this board, the International Carols Board, for over 10 years. And all of the monies, everything we've ever done, those big ceremonies in Shasta, we give money to the Hopi, the Maya, the Inca, and the Tibetans. And when they come, we brought them here to Nevada City last year, and we were going to bring them here in May, and unfortunately that didn't happen. But and I'm concerned about those elders and even the Hopis. I've been begging people and trying to do some fundraising to get masks made to be sent to Hopi, because the federal government has failed with our tribes and they have no mask. And I am grateful to Lisa Yamamoto and Andrea Yamamoto and David, her husband David, and I go all the way back to junior high, and they made masks and they sent them to Hopi. We still need masks. We're still trying to do some things for Hopi. And all around Hopi, there's over 1,000 Dene that have COVID. and they have to come onto the Hopi reservation to they have to come onto the Hopi reservation to go to the locals that are there around Hopi. They have to come onto the reservation to go to the health center. And so even the people working in the stores, their closest grocery store is 87 miles away. They have to go to Winslow. And if they want to go to something like Sam's Club, they have to go to Flagstaff. That's 2.5 hours away. And so all the people that are working in the little, they have little gasoline stores and stuff, they don't even have masks. And there's tribal police stopping people at the borders. And there's a lot of people right now flooding into Hopi, trying to get into Hopi because they're feeling it's the end of the world and the Hopis hold the prophecy. And that's true. And not true that it's the end of the world, just true that it's that they hold the prophecies. And I taught the prophecies last week, so we don't need to go into that. But I'm just saying is that what is the equal change of energy? So our government at this point, and I don't want to really get into politics, where is the equal exchange of energy? I know that my company is closed right now. My clinic, I have a vibrational clinic and I have an herbal clinic, and my business is closed. And in that, I'm not making a living at the moment. And we applied for all the PPP loans a few weeks ago, only to be told, I'm sorry, the corporations, big corporations got all the money, and little small businesses, you're SOL. So how are we going to survive? I don't know, but I'm doing a lot of prayer. And I'm going out to our medicine wheel that is here in Nevada City. We have a 50-foot medicine wheel on 160 acres. And I am doing prayer like you would not believe for people and doing ceremony. So I'm not a person that does drugs or recreational drugs or even ceremonial drugs or ceremonial plants. I shouldn't say drugs, I said plants. I'm from an old generation, sorry. But I don't do that. And I know it's right for some people. And I think that that's a good thing that those sacred plants are there. And if that is yours to do, to get to where you need to go ceremonially, I have no condemnation in that. It's just that my elders told me that I have a clear channel and I can get there where I need to go, and I don't need the plants to get there. And so that's why I don't do it. But some people do need that. And find the right one, the plant ally that works for you, and do what you need to do. And I do not consume alcohol. I have it. And so under those, I don't alter my presence in my present form to the point of I'm a medicine woman and I'm usually on call 24/7. I have people behind me when I need time off, and I physically call that person and say, hey, I need time off. And if I need to send somebody to you, and I usually will have 3 or 4 people that I assign to let me let down, because I'm a human being and I need some private time sometimes, but I'm on call 24/7. And believe me, I get phone calls at 3 a.m. I get phone calls. I'm looking at this beautiful woman that her mother was ready to pass, and she gave me a call, and I was there, and I was able to, and I'm looking at her right now, shaking her head. And it was like, I was right there, being able to be in service to help do. I've never met her mother. I knew her fairly well through the Carols medicine work we did, but my vessel was ready, and my vessel was ready to do that transmutation for her mom. And it was a beautiful thing. It was a really, really beautiful medicine work that was done in co-creation between the seen and the unseen. So if you're going to walk the walk of a medicine person, then you have to have an even exchange of energy, meaning that your forces have to be up. You have to take in your sun even during this time that we're told to shut in, you have to take in your sun transmissions. You have to take in your prayer transmissions. You have to do your spiritual work. So, because we're in very, very dense energy right now. And the thing is, dense energy can't live in enlightened higher vibration energy. So when you up your vibration, your vibrational field, that dense energy that you have going on with, you know, you might be mad at your partner, or you might be mad at your children, or you might be mad at your employer, or you're mad, you know, there's a lot of madness. People are really, really mad right now. They're mad at the government, they're mad at the president, they're mad at the universe. There's a lot of anger right now, and there's a lot of dense energy. And I find myself, you know, I'm on Facebook and I'm like, oh yeah, I agree with that, yeah. And I get on, you know, my warrior stance, and I'm realizing, okay, so is this going to do me any good to be writing all these words on social media? It might give me a 2-second immediate gratification. So what is going to be more constructive? What is going to be more constructive is that people know that I have a 76 Stargate pyramid sitting in my living room, which is an amplification device that helps send in a torsion field energy out into the universe and amplifies energy. I sit in that thing, and when I find myself mad at Facebook, I go over there, and especially if I'm mad at the president, I'm mad at just organizations, I'm mad at things breaking down, and I'm stuck in the cogwheels of being broken down and run over. The best medicine I can do after I get rant on Facebook is to go sit in my medicine wheel, or it's my medicine wheel out where I'll drive to a couple times a week. I'll drive out to the medicine wheel. I'll do my prayers. Other than that, last night I got mad at Facebook. It was midnight, and I read something that went, ah! You know, and I got up out of bed and I went and sat in my pyramid, and I gave offerings, and I did my prayers, and I did my songs. And you know who I was praying for, you guys? I was praying for Mr. Trump. I was praying for Mr. Trump. And I find out that if I pray for the thing that I'm maddest the most, that is the best energy that I can give away to transmute that thing. And that is my offering. So if you find yourself mad at the thing that is most bogging you down, then pray for it, them, whatever. That's an offering. That is a balance of power. You have just done a balance of power. And I know it seems against political correctness. I don't give a poop. It is in my political correctness to pray for whatever I'm mad at or get over. And I'm a thunder being, and I thunder. And it takes a lot for me to thunder. And I'm usually polite about my thunder, but I had a brain fart and thunder being tantrum a couple of days ago. And it was directed at some very beautiful, loving people. And it was just my frustration of not understanding the organization of something and kind of feeling fringed on the side and not seeing the big picture. And I'm the person that manifests best when I have it all laid out in front of me and it's a big picture. And then I know, if I know my part, I'll take my bone and go home and chew on my bone. But I need to know, I see the big picture, and then that helps me manifest forward. But I needed to go through this whole rant, and luckily these people are very compassionate towards me, and I was able to find my power of balance, balance of power. Yeah, sorry, balance of power. And so again, I went to my wheel. That time I did go to the medicine wheel. So I don't tell you to go to your room. I tell you to go to your wheel, go to your altar, whatever. And I did my prayers. And I also have made a point that if I'm mad about something on Facebook, I have to put something up that's inspirational on Facebook. So when I was at the medicine wheel the other day, I took a picture of a yellow aster. And I put the picture of the yellow aster I put the picture of the yellow aster last night on Facebook and wrote about a prayerful kindness and the beauty of the day. And so I'm finding that for my atonement, my even exchange of energy, I get on some things of Facebook and I may rant. And I said a couple of unkind things about our government. And I shared in the rant. I'm human. I'm going to get in it. And then yet I'm going to balance out the power. So I am putting up joyful things on my Facebook page. And there's a little ranting in there because I'm human. And you might hear me say asshole once in a while. But anyway, I will negate that. And I will do my prayers. And I try to balance out my humanness into my spirituality. And I have people very judgmental sometimes. My students or friends, not even friends, acquaintances. Well, you're a spiritual teacher and you have, you should know better. You should know better. Well, if I'm a doctor, do I know how to operate on myself? That's really what it comes to. I'm in the same human experience as everyone else. And the thing is, I'm not above nor below you. And my students are my best teachers, truly. My students are my best teachers. And the one thing I like to say is that I sit on my throne in the morning and everyone sits on their thrones in the morning. So we're all equally sitting on our thrones. So no one is above you. Nobody is below you, because every day, including Mr. Trump, who wants to be king, is sitting on his throne. So please note that everyone does everything bodily function wise on the same level. And so when we bring it down to human thought, we all have a throne and we all sit on it. But how do we have our moral compasses? And I'm not here to judge mankind. I am here just to offer incentives. So we work through the line of manifestation. And as some of you know, the way I teach is called circle ambulating. It's an actual form of teaching. I'm the one who used to write her notes in circle in college. And then my friends would go, oh, can we borrow your notes? And they would look at me like I was a crazed teenager. But I am a person that was able to get her master's degree in a linear system. However, it's not what I do and it's not what I want to do, but at least it's helped me to be an organized person and experience and to feed my children in the past in the corporate world. In the last 30 years, basically 25 years, I have been self-employed and living pretty much, it's hard as a single mom and the things I've done in my life. But the thing is, those were choices. And I don't know if I could ever go back working I'm probably unemployable in a corporation setting anymore, truly. But I teach in a circular way. And that is the difference between Western culture thinking and thinking in medicine ways, truly, because ancient stories and ancient teachings were all done in a circular ambulatory way. And you ask a question, then you create the story, you tell the story, you pull out the parable of it, and then you make your point and you go back to the question that was asked. That is the very old way. If you read the parables, people read these old stories, the stories of Gilgamesh, the stories of the Sumerian times, or if you go into any of the ancient teachings, they're all written in parables, but they're all written from circumambulation of teaching. We in the Western culture, starting probably, before that, but Darwinism really put that in, is that we were created as a microbe and now we're this sophisticated Homo sapien, and time moves in a linear way. Well, in circumambulation, time doesn't move in in a linear fashion. It moves in a circular fashion, and it moves one rung to another, which means we live in a way that I was talking about Ho'oponopono and 7 generations. I do tracking. I do spiritual tracking to miasms in people. So right now I have 3 cancer patients that I'm working with, and we're working and tracking with those lineages in their families to find out where that cancer miasm is sitting. And then we go in and do the tracking work so that we can dissipate it, and so we can maybe help and less the impact, but it's really done for the next generation. It may not be for the person whose actually vessel is so impregnated with cancer, but we know that we were able to clear it. And at times we can clear that energy in that cancerous body. Excuse me. We hold segues of energy in our bodies through different patternings, and when we get those patternings, those are generational patternings, those are DNA patternings, and we have those cancer patternings all in our energy field. But if we keep that energy up throughout our life, and that's, we're talking about food, people talk it's just about food and exercise. It's not. It's about how you relate with your energetic world in your balance of power, and how you're feeding your energetic world, because your disease starts from the outside in. It doesn't start from the inside out. And if you're keeping that balance of power, then it is exercise. It is the vessel itself, but it's more than the vessel. And that's what, unfortunately, in most traditional healing, in allopathic, they have this placebo when they do the clinical study. We just finished a clinical study with some of our vibrational medicines, believe it or not, with Indian Health Services. And with our vibrational medicines, in doing it, they always have the placebo effect. And the understanding is doctors just dismiss the placebo effect. The placebo effect is the spiritual effect. It's the ether spirit cosmic effect. If you think it, you raise your vibration to think it. And even if you have to kind of trick your mind by taking the placebo, you don't know if you've got the drug or whatever. But why that placebo is always such a big chunk is because that person has the belief system, and they've raised their vibration to the point that that disease dissipates. It dissipates. That's why the placebo effect is so important, because it's the spiritual aspect of healing that people forget about. And it's really important when we have a balance of power is in disease. And that's something I'm getting ready to platform it's called Earth Alchemy, and it's under the umbrella of the Academy of Oracle Arts. And I'm getting ready to put up my field class, which will probably start as soon as they open the gate we can have some people together. I want to get into the dirt and get some dirt time and work with these vibrational plants and work with vibrational anatomy, so that you guys can actually make plant medicines with water. And if you see me drinking this water, I programmed this water. I worked with Dr. Emoto one-on-one in the jungles of the Andes and learned to work with these waters. And the reason I'm holding this water probably is because all these teachings that I'm teaching, I have a glass of water and my words are vibration, and it's taking everything I said in this class, and I'm drinking this water because it's giving me my own words back to me. And that heightens my vibration, because I'm in a very clear channel right now, and I get into a channel form when I teach. That's why I teach in circumambulation, and I don't teach in linear ways, because I'm not teaching from cognitive memory. I am teaching from cosmic memory. And there's a big difference between teaching from cognitive memory and teaching from cosmic energy and cosmic memory. Cosmic memory is the fact that I work very, very hard to keep my vibration up. And doing that, I go to the big island of Hawaii, which is the world's biosphere. And I go from the top of the mountain the top of the mountain is about 13,000 feet at Mauna Kea, and all the way down to sea level. That mountain is actually 36,000 feet. It's the largest mountain in the world, and it has 2 of the most sacred volcanoes, and it's made out of 5 volcanoes. But I do a lot of my flowers there, and a lot of the plants I harvest to make my vibrational waters. And I take my waters from there to also make those vibrational plants. And so thank you for saying that. Somebody said I have a blessed life. I do have a blessed life, but I live hand to mouth, and I live very close to the ground, and I work very, very hard just to keep a roof over my head. But the bottom line in doing that, I do have a blessed life, and Creator has given me every time someone has showed up, and I have lived, and I've been able to do this work for the last 20 years, 25 years like this. And it's not easy, and it's a balance of power. It's a balance of power. And that's what it is. It's a balance of energy. So thank you for saying that. And I do cultivate that. I do live a very blessed life, but I work very hard in that balance of power to co-create that. And in that co-creation, thank you. I'm sorry. My business partner just said something to me that was touching. But in that co-creation of understanding the balance of power is that you have to put it into a perspective of what you put out is what you get in. And if you're putting out fear, that's what you're going to get in. If you're putting out disease and fear of disease, that's what you're going to get in. So when I go to Big Island, the dolphins have a sonar. They are the most developed vibrational creatures on the planet. Any of, the whales as well. And so when you're working in that vibrational medicine, I float with the dolphins in the sun ray, in like our amniotic fluid of the ocean. And I will take that in at least once to twice a year to keep it up. So I get my sun transmission, I get my biosphere, because I get the different elements at different ways. And it's really one of the closest biospheres that we have in America. They're also the most isolated islands in the world. Plus I trained for 20 years with the Kahuna Nui of Hikiau Heiau on working on portal energy and working with the temple. And so I understand the powers of the Heiau and how to open and how to close and how to use Ho'oponopono and how you track, and La'ala Pa'au, which is working with the plant medicine. And so that is home to me, and I can come in and gather. Also Arizona and going home to the Hopi, that's also home to me. So I feed myself at these places that feed my energy field, because I hold a lot. People that are close to me know that. People that are close to me know that I hold a lot. And I have a lot of people coming and going in my life, and I'm asked to do a lot. And in asking to do a lot, that means I have a responsibility. If I'm going to hang my shingle out there, this is what I do, then I have to be able to be respectful. And I'm not always good at it. I'm in my human karmic state as well. So I'm going to disappoint you. I'm going to let you down. But to the best of my ability, I am going to keep my balance of power. That means that since I can't do my journeys right now, the closest journey I have is a very, very powerful medicine wheel. And we work with the medicine of the Sapapu, which is a different type of building a medicine wheel and how you're calling to the seen and unseen. So in our circle, not every medicine wheel has this. And luckily I was given the experience to be able to open that and to use it. And so I'm going to that, and our trained medicine team that's worked with me for several years, we're going and we're preparing this circle, and it's in Nevada County. It's in our community, and it's transmutation. It's a place at the seen and the unseen. So it's kind of like taking the pyramid and putting it in Nevada City, truly. And it's taking that medicine and it's doing the prayers, and it takes a huge upkeep. It takes people say, I'm just going to build a medicine wheel. Honey, no. If you want to, you've got to be trained in the medicine to keep the balance of power. Because that, just like people that say, oh, I want to use the pipe, the chanupa. If you're not trained in the chanupa, it will cut you. It will slice you, because it is the sword of truth. And the thing is, if you're not ready to sit in truth and to prepare yourself ceremonially to sit with that instrument, then it will cut you. And the thing is, you have to prepare yourself living a balance of power in the giveaway. And so we always give away. And one of the things I know when I go to my elders, this was one of the things, like, I was going through a really hard time in my life. I had worked with an apprentice for 7 years, and things kind of went sideways, and I just didn't know what to do. I was so upset. And so I went to my elder, and I made the journey to Hopi, and I said, I don't know what to do. I don't know how to work with this. And my elder's like, well, come. So I prepared my giveaway, and I gave away, and I sat at the Hopi Cultural Center waiting for him to call. And the next day I waited for him to call. And I waited the next day for him to call. So, I'm Western culture. I got mad. I don't have the money to sit here for 4 days to pay this kind of money for a room, to drive all this way, and I'm not getting what I want, and I gave away to you properly. So I went to his house, and I said, are you going to see me? And he said, I saw you. And I said, well, and he goes, so what did you learn? I said, well, I was frustrated, and then I felt lonely, and then I felt really like it caved in on me because I had to think about what happened. And he goes, did you forgive yourself? And I said, no. He goes, did you forgive the other person? I said, no, I'm mad. And he goes, well, when you're not mad anymore, come see me. Be good. But meantime, we'll see you in a few months. Bye. So I drove home back to California, and I had to sit with that. And I had to sit with that for a long time. And yesterday, actually, we just did a medicine thing to actually maybe build a bridge about it. Seriously. And it's been 3 years. And I had to sit with that for a long time. And the last time I saw him, which was a while ago, it was September, I think. No, it was November. I made a pilgrimage before I went to Egypt. I made a pilgrimage to Hopi. And the first thing he said is, have you forgiven yourself? And I said, yeah. No, I've seen him before that, but he knew what I was dealing with still on some levels. And he said, did you forgive yourself? I said, yeah. And he said, have you forgiven other people for other things? I said, it still hurts and I get mad, but yeah, I can get over it. I can sit down and have a cup of tea. And he said, okay, come on in. And I just want people to be aware that sometimes it takes a journey. You can't instantly you have to do your work. And if you don't do your spiritual work, you can't get to your ceremonies. You can't get to your higher vibrations. You can't get to your balance of power until you live it. And working with the miasmic energy is something that constantly needs to be fed. One thing that's interesting, the Yoruba tribe, anybody that, one of my dear friends has people involved in some of the African arts. And one thing about an African divination board of this particular tribe, you flip it over and it has a mouth. It has a mouth carved into it. And part of the ceremony is that I was taught how to use this board. And my first teaching was, you got to feed it. And I'm like, okay, how do I feed it? He goes, flip it over. It has a spiritual mouth and it likes meat. So take some raw hamburger and put meat in the mouth. Now you're feeding it. I'm like, okay. So we have a common thing, like when Hopi eats, before they eat a meal, they always do a prayer and they take a pinch of food and they just put it to the side. We have, when we do potlucks with Sun Clan, we will make a spirit plate. We do the prayer and that spirit plate is put out to be fed. And then it's usually we will remove the dish, but we'll leave the food there for the spirits to eat. And sometimes those spirits are fed through the nature spirits. When you do a humbliche, a lot of times you spirit eat or vision quest. When the people are up on the mountain, you take that person in visualization and you spirit eat and you spirit drink for them. You become the vessel that feeds them energetically while they're doing their work. So it doesn't matter if you think you're in a physical form, you're not. And the air and everything around you, as we know, go take Nissan Harriman's course right now is free. Resonant Science Foundation. He's offering his 6-week course free on, and it's very, very worth it. I took it a couple of years ago and it's really very, very interesting. And it's, yeah, somebody just put that up. And so anyway, it's a very interesting course. I am not a math person, although as an RN, you got to take a bunch of math. And I barely got through math and in college, but you know, my calculus is a little rusty, but in doing so, it really takes you through seeing the mathematical patterns that create sacred geometry, that create the actual vision of the liquid universe. And we live in a cosmic liquid universe that is defined between the seen and the unseen. And so if we don't live in resonant power of balance, and that balance, I keep on saying power and balance, but I mean the balance of power, we are vibrational beings in a liquid universe in an elemental process of co-manifestation. Can you understand what I just said? And if you ask me to repeat it, that's a channel. So I'm glad we're recording this thing. But what I want to say is that our universe is liquid. We are liquid in water and in cellular form, and we're having two dissimilar forms with air. I have a relationship with air, and I take it into my body and I breathe it out as another chemical. I pee in the morning and we all defecate. So I took food in and it changes form within my own chemistry, and it's given to the earth in form of water. But considering that water that comes out of me goes into the sewer, then it's cleansed, sort of, and then it's given back to the universe. And the water, our water came from the stardust in the very beginning of creation. So we are in an internal system on the physical level that the water that's in the ocean might have been in your great, 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 great grandmother. And when she passed away, her water went into the ground, and then that went into the soil, and that soil eventually had water that evaporated that went into the clouds that actually went into the ocean. So our oceans have always, that water is 4 billion years old, and any water that we have associated with is 4 billion years old. And so we are a closed system. We also, anything that is energy in this planet was here 4 billion years ago. And any ornate thing to any living thing, we have always been there. Okay, someone wants to say anything, please.
Hi, Marza. I just quickly
Hi.
say thank you for this, by the way, but you keep bringing up the ocean and the water. And yesterday when I went to go do an offering, which if anyone else knows or doesn't know about, but Isis was talking about doing the offerings for Venus and on Fridays. And so I went to go do that by an open body of water, which I went to the ocean, which was closed off, but I still went anyways. And what the message that I received that I wanted to share to you, because you're talking about the ocean, and I'm just like, okay, I have to tell her already. And I wanted to tell you before class, but it just didn't align. But I was told that you have the voice of the mother ocean, and like in French they say la mer, and mer can also mean like mother, and so it's like you have the voice of the mother. And so I want to thank you for that, and thank you for channeling that, because it's like, it's really beautiful. And every time you have a class, I'm like, oh my gosh, no, I want it to be longer. And yeah, I just want to share that really quick.
Well, the classes are coming.
Okay.
So, but thank you for that compliment. And I'm a water being, I'm a water baby, and it's like I'm missing water terribly right now. I just really, I'm really about ready to put the kiddie pool up for that we have for my grandson, and fill it full of water and sit in it. And I've been known to do that. So that's what I do. And I have kind of this weird sunken tub in my bedroom in my bedroom bathroom I've never used. So, but thank you.
Yeah,
Water is very, very important to me.
yeah,
It's very important
but
to me.
maybe like your voice being the water, you know, how you envelop your voice, even with the classroom and with your medicine, doing that for you too, you know.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you. I appreciate that. But thank you. So anyway, I'm about ready to wrap up here. We could go on and on and on. And so I've been being trained very well by the management to this is how many hours we have, and so I have to fit it into this amount of a program. And if you think I wrote anything down to teach this, I did not. There was no preparation from this class other than me rolling out of bed, playing with my cell phone, getting in the shower, getting dressed, and at least my hair is dried now. But when I started the class, it was still wet. So that's basically how I teach. And I'm prompted, that's why I like to see your guys' faces, because it really helps me understand, see your faces, and hear your questions, because that tells me where spirit wants me to go with the people that showed up for the class. And so that's how do you spell I couldn't read that.
Aini. For Aini.
A-Y-I. A-Y-I. Aini. It's Quechua. It's Quechua. So anyway, I'm just gonna stop here. I am going to switch venues next week because I've been teaching you. I teach from a different form than most platforms. I have a lot of different lineage medicine that I carry. I carry Hawaiian, Celtic, Native American, and Westernized. And so in all of these venues, I choose sometimes different formats to teach from. And sometimes, as you can see in my teachings, all of those lineages come together. They do. They all kind of sometimes channel together with this teaching or that teaching from the elders that have come forward to sit with me. And I will tell you, they have all of my teachings have not come from classes that I've sought out to take or books that I've read. They have all come from one-on-one meetings and taking the initiations to be humble enough and honored enough to be able to hold the teachings. And they've taken many initiations and a lot of my time in doing the preparatory work that was necessary. I wasn't picked up on the street by a really cool Indian dude that said, here, I'm giving you your medicine, here's the medicine pouch, and I'm gonna let you off at the next corner. That is not how I was taught. I was taught by doing my dirt time. And that means anything that's worth doing is worth doing your dirt time. And you can't get anywhere any faster by reading a book. And I'm not the pantheon. Everybody I know asks me, have you written a book? Anybody that wants to platform me into a higher realm with some of these classes and some of these, you know, like the fairs and, you know, all the people that are out there doing their thing. Everyone always asks me that. And the thing that they always ask me that is like, well, have you written a book? And then people that try to get to market me say, well, you need to write a book, then people will have you come on their platform to teach. And I'm like, no, I haven't written a book. I teach by my mouth. And, you know, luckily now we're able to do some recordings, and we're going to be putting an online class up called Earth Alchemy. And it's kind of a combination of my 3-year program put into a 6-month program. And it's going to be a 6-month frequency. We're not sure. My field class is probably, I'm almost ready to start taking signups for that. And so that's going to be ready to come out, and that's going to be taught in Nevada City. We have an herbal lab that we teach at. We teach the healing work at my clinic in Nevada City. And then we have 160 acres of conservancy land. We work in the medicine wheel. We do our purifications through our ceremonies that are done in the wheel. And then we're going to be also doing some harvesting, because I'm making a community apothecary, which I have made with my students over the years. So we do have medicines available, and that's on a total sliding fee scale. So we make medicines for people, and then we also, but it's mostly focused into the vibrational ceremony grids, all of working in the liquid universe, and how we work into tracking, and how we work with the balance of power, how we work with doing our life as an offering. We are the offering, and how we learn to work in that balance of power as offering. And so please look on the Academy of Oracle Arts. There will be things up there, Ancient Earth Apothecary. There'll be things coming up on there, and on our websites. And then also we are going to be offering, and it's going to align with the apprenticeship that ISIS is doing, that through the Church of the Essence, which I inherited 2 years ago. It's a 40-year-old church, actually, when you were able to form them. And it was formed in 1979. And we are an organization. ISIS was ordained under the Church of the Essence recently. And it's something that I've worked with on and off for many years. And it's actually, some of my teachers were the ones that formed it in 1979. They're also the same people that formed the Nevada City Psychic Fair, which I'm also the producer for. So all of a sudden I'm holding these 2 organizations, which I had no idea. As one is the Psychic Fair, which is a benefit for the Miners Foundry, and now this nonprofit Church of the Essence, which I basically it was wheeled to me by the person who held it before me. And he passed away a couple of years ago, Ray Enrich. So anyway, Church of the Essence will be offering a minister ordination program. And through that, there's the legal work that needs to be done. There's the healing work that is the tenets of the organization. And there's also the ministerial license that's given and certification. So those certifications and licensings will be available through this program that we're co-doing as part of the Academy of Oracle Arts, and also through Church of the Essence. And so I wanted to throw that out there. And so these are on the for rent, but truly the apprenticeship that's coming up and all the work that's been done, and so appreciative of being honored to be of service to this platform. And I'll be teaching some classes through the school. And I just talked to Naha, who's the owner of 22 Teachings in Southern California. And we're going to be doing some field trips. Our next field trip is going to be the ancient bristlecones, and we're in the process of planning that with her. And it's 22teachings.com, and we're going to pull it through the Academy of Oracle Arts, and we're working with 22 Teachings, and we're looking at doing some work with the ancient bristlecone trees here as soon as we're able to get out and the park is open. So hopefully that will be sooner than later. So anyway, it's 2 minutes and I am going to sign off. I am going to be teaching in the Celtic form next week. And my mother's lineage is Isle of Skye. And I've worked a lot with the standing stones, and we're going to be learning the ancient form of calling the oracle through working with stone beans and working with the standing stones. So please get registered for that if you like. We promise, we're working on getting our things up on YouTube. It's been a crunch with trying to get things ready for the apprenticeship and a very small staff. And so we're working on getting all of these edited and getting them up on YouTube, on the YouTube channel, and underneath the Academy of Oracle Arts. And we will have those available for you, so please be patient. There it goes. So if you feel inclined to give away for this class, I appreciate it. And the Academy of Oracle Arts appreciates it. And also, if you're unable, that's okay too. You know, you can do what you can do, but you know, it's just one of those things. It's Aini. What can you say? It's a balance of power. And we use Aini and we use money as our energy. So it's really an exchange of energy for energy. But if you needed my energy today, then thank you. And I appreciate it. And please take it as my giveaway. And if you can give away, that's good. If you can't, I understand. And please take this as a gift, and may you find it helpful in your life somewhere. Anything you want to say, Sonia?
Thank you so much, Marza. I just appreciate you so much and your wisdom that you share on this platform. And we're so lucky and grateful to have you here. And we're so excited to be ready for you building this platform for you to be able to teach your online course. We're so looking forward to it. And thank you so much to everyone on this call. Thank you for continuing to showing up for the last 3 weeks. Thank you for everyone who's been making contributions, that are even more than the suggested contributions. So thank you so much. I'm seeing those and sending them to Marza. So thank you. And that's all.
Thank you. And if you guys, thank you. There's my phone number. There's my email. I make myself available to my people that I work with. When I work with people, I want, so if you need something, if you have questions about something, please, it's better to, if it's questions about something, it's better to email me. If there's something really going on that you have an urgency, then please text me. Phone calls are difficult for me sometimes because I get too many of them. So text is better if it's in something that needs something right away. If not, please send me an email, but I'm always approachable. So thank you so much, everyone. I appreciate it.
I also wanted to
Thank
say
you, Sonia.
next week, Saturday, same time, Marza is teaching here again. And I want to know, Marza, are you going to be continuing doing the Saturday classes until the end of the quarantine? Or is this just indefinite?
Yeah. That's what you asked me to do. You told me to do something once a week, didn't you?
Yeah.
That was what you asked, and I am more than happy to do this. I'm very excited to do this. I'm going to try to get actually my teacher, Sun Thunderflower. She was going to join us today, and I didn't see her on here, but I'm hoping that maybe to get her joined tomorrow. Next Saturday. I don't know. We'll try. She's like a butterfly, but we'll see what we can do.
Awesome.
Thank you, everyone.
I'm going to stop.
Thanks, Marza.
If anyone has any questions? Did you want to take any questions?
Oh, yeah. If people have questions, I can hang out all day because my mouth just moves all the time. But sure, if you guys have any questions, you're more than, unmute, talk. I'm here.
Hi there.
Hi.
I was wondering, do the Hopis need, I'm in Arizona now, do they need to bring them water? I'm a scrounger, and I've been getting a whole bunch of stuff together, and I have some extra water, so, I need to help people. I don't know what to do if I can't help right now. I won't get anyone sick. I take oils. It's never going to happen.
They're not allowing anyone on the reservation unless you are Hopi.
Okay.
And so the entire reservation is closed down. All the tribal reservations everywhere in the United States are closed down.
But
and they're only
right before the gate and leave it.
Well, they don't have gates, but probably not.
Okay.
I would say no, because I'm not saying you're diseased.
No,
or anything.
I could never get this. I'll tell you why later, but go ahead.
Right, but no, they would not. But thank you for the gift.
Okay.
But usually what they can use is money to help stuff, or masks or stuff like that. I'm just saying, or prayers. If you could give prayers, that's great.
Not
if you want to.
Okay.
No, you know what you can do for the water is the water prayers.
I'm such a water person that it's not even funny. Okay.
Well, water prayers are when you give the earth that's thirsty. If you have something around your yard or something, or a plant that's living, you water it in the name of the people, and that's how you can spirit.
Okay.
You can give them spirit for spirit drinking.
Okay.
You can put the water on the plant, and then you do it in the name of the Hopi, and you ask for those that are thirsting, can they please not thirst any longer, and may this water help them. So that way you can do that spiritually in our liquid universe, and they will receive a form of water in the way spirit would have them receive that.
Okay, because I had stem cell therapy. That's what they're using to cure this. Plus I have sacred oils. I would never, ever get this in a million years. So I'm just saying I would never.
Well, then you're very blessed.
And
you're very
blessed. If I had money, I'd give them the oils, but I don't.
I understand, but no, they probably, but thank you. But if you can give them your prayers and some water to the earth, they are the keepers of the earth.
Sure.
That would be very,
I understand what you said. I'm saying I would never come and get somebody sick. I can't get this virus. It's impossible. Thank you.
Good.
Thank you so
You're
much.
welcome.
Blessings. Thank you.
Are there any other questions before we sign off? It's 5:06, and I'll answer questions for another couple of minutes.
I had a question.
Sure.
So you said that they need masks, the Hopi. I'm learning how to sew, and sewing masks is actually not too difficult. My housemate is a seamstress, and she's going to teach me. If I have extra access, is there a way I can send them to you, or?
I can have you send them directly to Marlinda.
Okay.
So yeah,
Great.
I'll have you
Let's
send
stay
them directly to
connected
Hopi.
and we'll talk about that.
Thanks, Becca.
Yeah, thank you.
Appreciate it. Okay. Any other questions? We're all going to stare at each other. Okay. I'm going to be closing it up here. Huh?
And we're going to end with a
You
prayer.
want a prayer? Yes.
Mm-hmm.
Yes. Grandmothers, grandfathers, receive our hearts. Creator, hear our prayer. Creator of all things, we ask that you shine down on us this day. We ask that you lighten our hearts, that you lighten the darkness that is around us. We ask that you help us shine that light on others, our next door neighbor, and really protect those that are on the front lines. I really, really ask you, my own children are on the front lines, and I ask you that you help them. You help everyone that is fighting this, that you help SunCloud, that you help people that are actually doing the work that on the ground, boots on the ground. We ask you, Creator, please help them. Those that are struggling with the element of air, those that are struggling to fill their lungs with air, I ask you, element of air, come into them and fill their lungs in a good way so they're not fighting you. We ask element of air to be gentle, to go into their body in a different way so that they receive the replenishment that they need. Even that's in the etheric field, we ask the element of air to come into their field so that they have the air to struggle, so they're not hurting. And then we ask Creator for those that is their time to go on, that they go on gently, that they go on in a good way, and that you help their families that are grieving. I ask that you keep us safe, you keep our babies safe, you keep the younger generation safe, because they're the ones that hold our world now. They're the ones that are our future, and please help them. Creator, help ourselves be in a good way. Help us find that balance of power within ourselves and live our life out loud as an offering. Please help us, Creator. Help us remember these ancient ways. Illuminate our heart, restore our memory. Thank you, Creator, for all above and all below. Haina hai, haina ho, haina ka. Ho! I call this medicine complete. Thank you, everyone. I appreciate it. See you next week. Have a good week. Bye-bye.
Thank you so much.
You're welcome.